Hello guys, this is PantsMice36. Today's video is going to be a little tutorial about how to assemble magic tracks and kind of work with them, clean them up, everything like that. Basically, I've done a video like this in the past, a little while ago, but it was quite long, and I was playing music loudly in the background that made it hard to hear what I was saying, so we're going to try to make a new video where I show everything a little bit faster, a little bit better, and also I'm going to actually show you doing a little bit of cleanup on the tracks beforehand, which takes about 10 seconds per link. Not much time at all, but it really helps, just improve the look of it in the end. Yeah, so let's get into it. First thing to note is that you might actually end up with two different bags in the Magic Track system here. Often one will be tracks with guide horns and one will be tracks without guide horns. So like on a T34, you'll have a guide horn, then a flat one, then a guide horn, a flat one, and so on. Or on a Panzer 3 or 4 like this, you actually have tracks for the right side, tracks for the left side, which are slightly different colors. These ones are lighter and these ones are darker. And basically the only difference is that the pin head is different on one side than the other side, because one is the actual pin head, one is the cotter pin that kind of like locks it in place. Usually the pin head faces inwards towards the body of the tank, but not always. Basically the instructions will tell you which way to go often on these Dragon kits, so, and if you don't know, just pick what side and go with it. It doesn't really matter. Just try to keep them all the same on one side, otherwise it might be obvious when the pin heads are different, like one track beside the other one, but overall it should be pretty clear. So this track here, this end is the actual pin head, and then on the track over here you can see the cotter pin, which is a little bit thinner and sticks out a little bit farther than this one here, which is kind of short and wider. So you can see it's very, very hard to tell the difference, so it doesn't really matter. But let's move on to actually doing some cleanup. So here's one of our magic tracks. As you might be able to tell, there are very, very faint pin marks which are raised right there and right there. And they're pretty small, and honestly if you put any mud on this, basically that covers them up, but I like to get rid of them anyways because it takes 2 seconds. And also, you sometimes will get, on more recent kits, since the machines that have been making the magic tracks are kind of older, the moldings get a little bit, a little more flashy, so you might also end up with a very, very faint seam line along the edge here. Now these are, like, it's almost invisible really, but once again, it's like 2 seconds to clean up. Basically I just take my hobby knife here, you probably can't even see the pin, the little flash line, but I just like go like that really, and then it's gone. That's about it. And then now for the actual pin marks in the center of the tracks, I usually use this file here. As you can see, it's very, very wide. So it actually, if I start sand, it'll actually start to remove the detail of this little edge piece there, the little spot there for the little hammer stone or whatever they're called. And that's actually raised up higher than the center of the track. So if I start saying like that, I'm actually going to start to remove this first, and I don't want to remove that detail. So I use this file here, which is about half as wide. You can see it only covers up that much, which is about the perfect size. It's a square file, standard Julius file. And then I just kind of a couple passes like this, really, and the pin mark's all gone. I don't remove any detail from there or from the guide horn itself. It just, a thin file helps to do this really quick. You can probably also use a hobby knife because it's, really basic, but as you can see, pin mark's still on this side, but it's not on this side anymore. It takes 2 seconds. Now you just sit down honestly with these tracks, put on a video maybe like 20 minutes long, and I can go through all of them really quick. And this one's ready to go. So here I've laid out 95 track links. Technically a Panzer 3 base vehicle should use 94 tracks per side apparently, but as you can see I do have a little bit of slack going here, so I end up with 95 per side, but that's okay. And as a quick tip, a Panzer 4, which uses the same type of tracks, usually has about 99 or 100 per side. And in a Magic Track bag you have like maybe about 140 per side, so you have tons of extra usually. And actually on these 50, I've removed the pin marks. And on these 45 I haven't, because those are actually going to be the top section. So the pin marks are facing down, so you can't see them anyways, so I only actually do the pin mark removal on the ones that you actually seal on the bottom there. But on all of them I have done the quick hobby knife removal of the actual, the pin marks, or sorry, the mold, flash, seam, whatever, that's along the edge there, because you'd see that no matter what. So the way I do my tracks is I do them in sections. Basically I'll have about 25 along the bottom where the wheels are straight, so that's fine, you can let that dry straight because it's going to be a straight piece of track. Then I have maybe about 10 that go up to about there, and about 15 that go up along there. That comprises the 50 that I've removed the pin marks from. And the other 45 go from about maybe halfway along the drive sprocket there to the top of the idler. Those are the ones that still have the pin marks on them, but you can remove the pin marks from all of them or leave them all on, doesn't really matter. But that's basically how I apply them. I'll start with the straight section on the bottom, and I'll work up along here, then I'll do the top part, and then I'll do the bottom part in 4 sections like that, which I put on pretty quickly, so they're still kind of flexible. But I find that doing them like that is a lot easier than doing one huge length of track and trying to wrap it all around. Because this way you can just kind of put the small sections together, glue them into the last one, and then put the next small section on and glue it to the last one, and just kind of work like that. It's a lot easier. So let's get into it. So all the stacks I showed you lined out here are all stacks of 5 tracks. And the reason why they're like that is because it's easy to count, and also because I put them together in little groups of 5 like this, as you can see. I basically just line them up together, and then I'll line up all these stacks of 5, and I'll glue them all together, and then I'll glue each stack of 5 together. And that gives me, they're all basically glued at the same time. But if you start putting them together, more than 5 at once, they'll start to fall apart. Like if I try to put that one on there, they're going to start to fall apart like that. It's really just, tricky. So groups of 5 or 6, it's just easier. So here are 5 stacks of 5 with 25 tracks. That'll do the bottom section, which is all straight. So I'm using Tamiya extra thin glue, which dries pretty quick. Some people use slower setting glue, but this is what I use and it works perfectly fine. So I'm going to take some of the glue, and I'll glue each section of 5 together. Just quickly like this. And I work fast because I like to have all the tracks glued relatively quickly because then they're all flexible. I find if you do it as one big long length, one end's basically dry by the time you're kind of getting to the other end, so it makes it tricky to actually get the tracks sagging and flexible enough to put on the model. So earlier I was showing you that when they're loose and I put more than 5 together, they start to fall apart. Once they're glued like this, there's still enough tension from the extra thin that'll hold them together. Then you can start putting the groups of 5 together and then glue them all together. So then now they're all like that, so I can put them together like that and like this, and they won't fall apart now because they're being held together by the extra thin, which is still very wet, but it's holding them together decently enough that I can just kind of pop them together without them falling apart like that. Did it right there. Oops. And then now I'll glue every 5th track length together, and then I've got one big length that works together as a whole. So here's all the tracks set up. This is the 25 long section that I showed before, and it's the only section I've actually glued so far because it's the part that goes under the road wheels, which is straight, so you can let it dry. It doesn't need to flex to be able to be saggy. Then I've got 10 here, which will go from about there to there. I've got 15 here, which goes over the idler wheel from the back. And I've got the 45 here, which are the top section. And none of them are glued except for the bottom section. So we're going to start to work applying these in sections, which is going to be the bottom section first, then these, which is the front section, then the whole top section, and then the back section. And we're going to do it in sections like that, but we're going to try to work fast because we want to be able to move things around at the end in case it doesn't perfectly line up at the end there. We don't want too much sag here and too little sag across the top, so we'll just kind of be able to work quickly so we can kind of even it out. Should be fine. So let's get started. So we've glued the 10 tracks at the front together, and we've also glued them to the bottom section of 25. And it's been sitting for maybe about 30 seconds just so that the glue is strong enough between the links that it will hold them together so they don't fall apart, but it's still very flexible so I can actually, move it up. So we're going to try to flex this section track up and get it lined up in the actual drive sprocket itself. As you can see, the wheels are all not glued, so I can actually rotate this to increase or decrease the amount of sag we have on the actual amount of track there. But that right about there looks about good, and that's basically what I have on the other side. So that's fine, you can let that dry basically. The only real section that you have to go fast is the top and the rear, because you got to make sure it lines up properly at the back. So now we're gluing the next section of track, which is going to be the top section 45. Same thing as before, I'm basically just gluing them all together in groups of 5. And then when that's done, I'll glue them all together, the groups of 5 themselves. Now that I've glued the tracks into sections of 5, then I put the sections of 5 together, and then glue them all together into one big long section of track for the top. Now we've got our top section of track all glued together, and once again it's been sitting for maybe 30 seconds just so that the glue is strong enough to hold the tracks together. Then now we're actually going to slide it in over the top there. So it's important that you actually slide it in kind of through the wheels, otherwise it might not get lined up properly. Usually it's easiest to do that from the rear because you don't want to spin the drive sprocket around because I've already got tracks attached to it at the bottom. So we're just going to kind of slip this in here. Once again, all the wheels are still free to rotate, which really helps this whole assembly. We just kind of slide that in here. And then we'll make sure we got it lined up with the tracks at the front of the drive sprocket. So now we got to make sure we add the sag to the top sections of track here, which usually you can just kind of do it by pushing it down a little bit. If it won't stay down because the glue's been drying a little too long, you can always just wedge something in there which will help hold it in place until the glue sets entirely. So often, you got to get something kind of in here. So like a shish kebab stick or something like that usually works pretty well. So the tracks are still pretty, soft when I put them on place, so I only actually needed to stick something in there, and there, just make it kind of grab along the idler, or the drive sprocket wheel here at the front. Over here and over there and everywhere else, it's the glue still went up that I just kind of push it down to place and it kind of stays where I put it. So that's all fine and set right now. Then we're going to put together the last section of tracks here, and quickly put it over the last corner where we need in the back. And then that'll kind of help everything line up properly, and then we can let it sit for a couple hours so everything dries up nicely. Let's get this last piece of track into place. So everything's been sitting for a few hours now and it's all dry, which means that the tracks are now one big piece. But they're not glued to the wheels, so if I were to slide the whole thing off, which I'm not going to because it's going to make a mess, but if I were to slide the whole thing off, all the wheels and everything will pop off as well, and then I can paint them separately, and then put them back on, or wear them separately as well, and put them back on at the end. Basically, it allows you to paint everything much easier. But if some people actually glue the tracks to the wheels and have like a big whole assembly that comes off, you can do it however you like. This is just basically how to put the tracks together. Yeah, so that's about it for this video. One last tip though, on Panzer III based vehicles and certain other vehicles that have a torsion bar suspension system, make sure that you somehow know which track goes on which side, because in this case, on the Panzer III, the wheels on this side, the row wheels, are actually a couple inches in scale farther forward than the wheels on the other side, because the suspension arms kind of go through the vehicle past each other. So this side is slightly farther forward than they are on that side. So this track won't actually line up very well on the opposite side of the vehicle, and vice versa. So what I usually do is I just put like a little bit of red paint on the bottom of the track, somewhere under there. We're not going to see it in the end, but that way I can tell that this track goes on one side or the other. That's about it for this video, guys. As always, big shout out to my patrons, Ricky from Orion's Painting and Samuel Murphy. They give me a few dollars every month here, which helps me out buying products and stuff for you guys to see the videos. And as always, yeah, I appreciate your comments below. And as always, thanks for watching very much. This is PanzerMice36, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.